Welcome. This is the first of three videos looking at what it will take to go from a $2 trillion per year deficit to a balanced budget. This video will look at what it would take if all we did was cut costs, cut spending. The next video will look at what it will take if all we do is raise taxes. And the third video will look at a compromise between both. A couple of assumptions. $2 trillion is a static number. It's actually increasing every year because more and more people join Social Security and Medicare, and we're living longer. On the offsetting side of that, if we have growth in our economy and a little bit of inflation, that can reduce the increase. So we're just going to assume $2 trillion as a static number. It's a huge number anyway. And what I'm going to tell you is what the possible cut is, how much that is, and what percentage of a $2 trillion goal that gets us to. If you want to see the actual numbers all at once, go to longtermamerica.com. There's great articles there about our budget deficit in general. So let's jump in. First, by the way, I asked AI to help me with this, and AI looked at the various government departments, articles, analysis about this, and we went back and forth for a while, starting with the easiest cuts and moving to the more difficult. There's going to be a nasty surprise here that I'll share with you at the end. But let's jump in. First, reduce improper payments and fraud, net of collection. Annual savings there is $50 billion, according to most conservative estimates. That means better verification, audits, and enforcement. So that takes us to 2.5% of our $2 trillion goal. It's a lot of what we hear about from government, and it's not going to do much to get us to a balanced budget. Second, reduce the federal administration and workforce. Again, the estimates there are around $50 billion. Our federal spending annually on the federal administration and workforce is $380 billion. So that's about a 13% cut. And that gets us to $100 billion cumulative savings, or 5% of our $2 trillion goal. Third, we can reduce or eliminate selected subsidies and corporate welfare to the tune of $50 billion. That's about a 28% reduction on $180 billion today. That's energy, transportation, agriculture, and selected business subsidies. That gets us to 7.5% of our goal. Fourth, we can reduce non-defense discretionary spending. That's all the budget items other than Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest, and defense. If we did a 20% across the board cut, that would be $200 billion in savings on $1 trillion spent annually. That gets us to a total of $350 billion saved, or about 17.5% of our goal. This would mean big reductions in education, transportation, housing, research, environmental programs, foreign aid, and other domestic agencies. Next, we can reduce federal civilian retirement to the tune of $50 billion. That's a 26% cut on $190 billion spent annually. It would mean higher employee contributions, smaller cost of living adjustments, and less generous pensions for federal employees. Now we're up to $400 billion, still only 20% of the goal. We could reduce other mandatory programs by about 11%. That would be reductions across SNAP, farm programs, unemployment benefits, student aid, disability programs, and so on. This would be very unpopular. We're looking at an 11% cut here, $125 billion saved on $1.1 trillion. Now we've hit 26.3% of our goal. So from here, we have to look at the big programs, right? 75% of cuts would have to come from the big programs, our defense spending, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Let's start with reducing national defense. The AI programs I looked at said 22% cut, $250 billion on $1.15 trillion. I don't want to do that. So I asked AI, what can we reduce from the military or defense spending in terms of efficiencies, procurement savings, and so on? And it said more like $50 billion. But for here, just to show you what's to come, let's keep it at $250 billion, right? My opinion is we can't do that. The world is very dangerous. The United States has a very important role to play in keeping the world safe, and we need to re-equip our military. You can agree or disagree. We're just looking at the numbers here. But if we did reduce national defense by $250 billion or 22%, that would only still get us to 38.8% of our $2 trillion goal. So now we have to start looking elsewhere. One thing I told AI was I'm not reducing veterans affairs, just efficiencies only, like administrative streamlining, procurement savings, fraud reduction, and modernization. I do not want to touch veterans' earned health care or benefits. I don't care what AI says here. So maybe we could save 4% there, $15 billion. We're still at 39.5% towards our goal. So now we reduce Medicaid and ACA, the Affordable Care Act, by 24%. That's $260 billion on 1.1 trillion. So now we're just over half of our goal, $1.05 trillion, 52.5% of our goal. And as you can see, we're into the big programs now. This means lower federal payments for Medicaid, tighter eligibility, reduced ACA subsidies, and lower reimbursements. There's only two more categories left. We can reduce Medicare. AI said we'd have to reduce it by 41%. And again, that includes a national defense cut of $250 billion, according to this analysis. So if we don't do that, we need to reduce Medicare and soon Social Security even more. 41% is $450 billion on $1.1 trillion. That's huge. That means higher premiums and deductibles, lower payments, eligibility changes, and reforms to premium support. But it does get us to 1.5 trillion, 75% of our goal. And the other 25% is going to have to come from reducing Social Security by a lot. It's already going to be reduced automatically if we don't fix it by about 21%. Here, the AI analysis says we have to reduce it by 30%, $500 billion. That means higher retirement age, slower benefit growth, smaller cost of living adjustments, and lower benefits, especially for high earners. Now we're at $2 trillion or 100%. And again, if we don't want to reduce national defense other than efficiencies and procurement changes, we're looking at reducing Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security even more. So the point is, we could not do this in just 1 year. First of all, politically, that can't happen. Second, the economic impact would most certainly lead to a recession. It would be really hard to do. We'd have to do this over a decade at least. But for those of you who want to see what the numbers are, it's pretty sobering. We're in a big hole with $2 trillion annual deficits that keep growing and growing because automatically Social Security and Medicare increase as more people join, right? And the real takeaway here is that we really don't even get to 25% of our goal except with what we call the low-hanging fruit. Everything else will be controversial, politically charged. I don't think politicians want to take any of this on, which is why you don't hear them talking about it enough other than a select few. So we're in real trouble. Of course, we're not suggesting that everything is through cuts. I think a lot of conservatives would like to do this, and there's an argument for that, right? If we can't afford it, we're already paying enough in taxes. We shouldn't be paying for it. We shouldn't be spending that money. And unfortunately, people are going to have to take the hit with less dependence on the government. What do you think? You can put in the comments what you would do here, where you would save money, but back up your comments with actual numbers. Use AI, use the government databases to look at the real numbers. It's super scary. Next video, we'll look at what happens if all we do is raise taxes. Where are the opportunities there? Spoiler alert, it's not just tax the rich. That won't get us there. It'll get us somewhere if we really want to do that, but not enough. So again, we're in a really difficult hole. This is going to take years to fix. It's going to take a lot of willpower. It's going to be hard to do. If you want to learn more and if you want to see these numbers, please go to longtermamerica.com. We are going to start meeting to have conversations, to work on our debate skills, to make sure everyone knows the facts. We're not going for extremes either direction. We're looking for what it will really take. We're looking at the government like a consultant would to look at the real numbers and make some hard choices and hopefully influence our elected leaders to start taking this problem and other long-term problems seriously. Thank you.